Yeah. All right. All right. So, welcome everybody. This is navigating the Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians. It's put on by the Austin Federation of Musicians. And let me get our intro out here. This is a presentation of the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee of the Austin Federation of Musicians, who are all members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, which is Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractors slash 1099 workers, and others work as employee slash W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
Thank you, Jonathan. And then to that end, we have the riveting legal disclaimer that I will read. The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. And that's the legal disclaimer. Thanks for joining us today. It's Friday, May 8th. Is it 6 weeks, 7 weeks into this quarantine pandemic situation? And depending on who you ask. We want to remind you about several different websites before we begin. The first one is the Facebook page of the Texas Workforce Commission. There's a lot of information coming out there. We also have the Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page on Facebook, and that's you can find that from the locals Facebook page, which is Local 433 of the AFM. There's also the TWC official website, which is twc.texas.gov, and that has the most up-to-date information on there somewhere is there about the Texas Workforce Commission. That's also where you go to file for unemployment, to request payment, all these things we're going to be talking about today. The local, the union local here is afm433.com, and there is a COVID-19 resources page there that we are trying to make shorter than most of the COVID-19 resource pages out there that are, a lot of them are turning into, thousands and thousands of links. We're trying to keep ours short and concise as we can. So check that out. And then we are going to talk about a website called Who Represents Me, and that's wrm.capitol.texas.gov, and all these links are in the description of the panel discussion on the YouTube live stream there. If you want to see where these links are, they are spelled correctly, and they're ready for you to click on if you'd like to. So I guess start with beverages. I'm drinking coffee. What are you guys drinking there? Anything stronger than coffee?
Green tea.
Ooh, nice. What is that, Jonathan? Is that water?
Let's just say water, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll believe that. Yeah.
Do anything you want.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. So, okay. Well, who's here today? We have Jonathan Rouse from the committee, and also from the executive board. We have Mark is here from the committee. We got Russell here, who's also our vice president. I'm Aaron Lack, the president of the Austin Local, and we also have Tracy here from last week. She was in the chat room. Hello, Tracy.
Hi.
Yeah. So I thought we could maybe just start out with Tracy's story. We don't want to keep you all day. Um, I understand you've had some success this week, Tracy.
I have, thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, not just me, all of us. Yeah.
So when I first applied, it was mid-March. I was in the process of playing Aladdin at Bass Concert Hall, and it got shut down after the second show. So I applied about a week later. When I applied, the stimulus hadn't come through yet. So my only option was to file under W-2. When I filed with the W-2, unfortunately, it was denied because for whatever reason, I think maybe the date was wrong and Austin Symphony decided to pay us even though we weren't playing. So I didn't have any fallback on my 1099s because I had already filed under W-2. So that was kind of the issue with myself. And I refiled in the second week of April under W-2, and unemployment kept giving differing W-2 wages for me. So one, I did not, I wasn't able to get any benefit because I made too little in W-2 income, but my actual W-2 incomes was higher where I should have been eligible. So that put it back a couple of weeks as well. And then listening to you last week, you were able to set me up with someone in Zaffarini's office, Senator Zaffarini, and she called me back immediately. I gave her all of my W-2, 1099. She said someone would be in touch from TWC, and 5 days later they called. I was able to give all my 1099 information on top of my W-2. So that opened up a whole new level of income of benefits for me.
Wow.
And that's kind of where it, that's kind of where it is. And I'm just really thankful.
That's great. So but this is it 6 weeks after you started, or is it 5 weeks? Or do you not even want to say?
I filed the claim on March 23rd. And just yesterday, I received good news.
Okay. Well, we're so glad to hear that. Jeez. Yeah.
Are they backdating your payments?
Well, as far as Austin Symphony, since we were paid, I don't think they will backdate my W-2 with that. But now that I was able to open the door and give them my 1099 information, having lost all of that work starting March 11th, I think now that it's in the computer, they'll look into it. And I'm supposed to receive a call from TWC next week about that. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, they should backdate that. They did with me. I mean, I did the same thing as you. I applied on March 22nd, and I didn't actually get cleared to get benefits until April 10th or something like that. And when I did, they backdated to March 22nd. So you should get that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, you're talking about Judith Zaffarini of the Texas Senate, and I think that worked because I believe that's my representative, but it's very difficult to figure out who your representatives actually are in the state of Texas, because we have been just gerrymandered to death, and that's another systemic problem that has sort of been uncovered by this whole situation. So the way that you can tell who your representatives actually are, one positive thing is that the state of Texas does have that website I was telling you about, which is, let's see, I've got it here somewhere. It's WRM, which stands for Who Represents Me. So it's wrm.capitol.texas.gov, and you have to spell capital correctly, right? CAPITOL, as in the capital of the state. And that website, you put your address in there, and that's what you have to do, because the legislative districts are so gerrymandered that most of the districts in the Austin area are these long strips that go way down to the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, and they're these thin districts because of the gerrymandering, which are put in place to keep one party or another in power, and which is a very sort of crooked practice that really needs to stop, because it causes problems like this where you can't figure out who your representative actually is. But that website will give you it'll give you your Texas senator, your Texas House of representatives, and it'll also give you your U.S. Senate representatives and your U.S. House of representatives, and it'll also give you your school district, your school. I'm sorry, your school board, your state school board representatives, and things like that. So that's very helpful.
So
And yeah, go ahead.
in this instance, would it be more useful to contact your state representative than your? I imagine it'd be easier to get through to the state representative than it is to get through to the federal representative. But I guess you're still talking to someone in the office. So would it be more useful to contact the office of your state representative than, say, local or federal?
Well, on that subject, I had pretty good luck contacting Congressman Lloyd Doggett.
Oh,
Very early on in this process, before the federal government had even enacted the first pandemic bailout, I sent Lloyd an email, and actually within a day got a response from him. And since then, he's updated me via email with all the information that he knows about where both the state and the federal government stand on unemployment. So he's been very helpful. I would recommend trying to get in touch with him.
Mhm. Yeah, he's been contacting our office for updates, and yeah, has been great about communicating with that for sure. Um, but the the thing is, with the unemployment office, with the Texas Workforce Commission, that is a state agency. So theoretically, it should be better to contact your state representatives, which is what worked for Tracy, and worked for another friend of mine. That was Judith Zaffarini in the Texas State Senate. For us, but where you live, it might be someone different. And if you contact the person that does represent your district, they have more motivation to help you out. But we don't really know if all the senators and all the representatives are engaging with the Texas Workforce Commission or not. We just don't know at this point. But we can float that name. Thank you, Senator Judith Zaffarini. Yeah. Anybody else have any experience with that? Contacting politicians or elected officials about this stuff? Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. We have somebody's in the chat room here. Whaleherd in the chat room is saying, I'm appalled that Tracy had such difficulty. I filed at very close to the same time, and mine went through very quickly and easily. And he said also, I think the $600 supplement should kick in automatically for Tracy, right? And I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Someone else chiming in. Hello, Kristen. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Cool. Well, what do you guys think about the $600? I think that should be coming through in Tracy's case, right? If it's
It did. It was automatically put through.
Oh, that's good news. Great.
Yeah, I don't think that it will be backdated. At least in my case, it was not backdated all the way to March, because I don't think they actually started that $600 thing until a week or two after that.
When the CARES Act passed or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything helps.
yeah. For me, it wasn't. For me, I wasn't getting the $600 until I think it was the second week of April.
Yeah, me too.
And I was receiving unemployment benefits before then without that. It was the normal amount, and then after a couple of weeks, it kicked in automatically.
Yeah, that's great,
Okay.
man. Yeah, it just gets kind of complicated with all this stuff happening. Yeah. Well, let's keep going. What other things? I guess in my case, let's see. This week I won't have any income from one of my. So, well, just to update everybody, I'm also a mix, similar to Tracy, a mix of W-2 and 1099s. And this week I won't have income from one of the W-2 sources. And thus far I haven't. I've qualified for benefits, but I haven't actually received any benefits because I've still been working for all my W-2 jobs. Although all my 1099 jobs have disappeared as a result of the pandemic. So this week may qualify me for it, but I won't know until 2 weeks from Monday when I request a payment again and then declare what income I have in this week. So I'll update you guys then, and we'll see what happens there. What about you guys? Has there been any change, any updates with what's been happening?
I have a question for you, Aaron. So
Please.
you get W-2 income. Is that consistent weekly income from your W-2 income sources? Because I know for a lot of W-2 people, they'll get it sporadically. Basically, the income is the same as a 1099 person. For me, my W-2 income, I get, a check or two a month throughout the year. But and that covers maybe half of the year, and then I get other sources of income. But I do have gaps. So is your W-2 income without gaps, or is
That's an excellent question. Yeah. Let's see. One of them is without gaps. Is weekly. One of them is an educational job. Is only during the school year. Normally. And then one of them is a church job, and but I don't do every week. It is for some of the people on that job, it's weekly, but I only do about one per month usually. So that job is also sporadic, and I don't know which week of the month I'll be working that job always. But the bright spot is that that's still paying, kind of similar to some of the Austin Symphony stuff that's still paying. But yeah, it's only for 1 week out of the month. So yeah. So it's another one of these things that is sort of uncovering these systemic problems with how we keep track of this stuff in our current system. We have people that operate basically like contractors, but that are considered W-2 employees, and the opposite. You have people that are considered W-2 employees that work more like contractors, or is that the same thing? But anyway, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
So I was reading, and I was talking to you about this earlier, but I was reading an article this weekend because you had told your story last week. It made me think of this situation about the unemployment in California, and how there were some gig workers, musicians who had maybe one paycheck last year that was a W-2, like earned maybe $1,000, but then the rest of their income was from 1099s. They were only able to base their unemployment on that one single W-2 paycheck, and so they were getting very little out of the unemployment assistance, even though they had lost tens of thousands of dollars in 1099 income. They were only able to base it on their W-2 income because of the way that system is set up there in California. So it's hearing some success in Texas is actually making me feel pretty good about the system in Texas. At least there's some flexibility there that can support individual cases, whereas in other states it sounds like it's pretty tricky. almost impossible, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a positive thing, especially for us who are musicians who are combining lots of different income streams and everything. Yeah, yeah. Like you said, that's from California, and every state is a little bit different. Before the show started, we were talking about Pennsylvania, where they set up a completely different system for contractors, but it took them an extra 3 or 4 weeks. Um, and they're doing that now. But our system has everybody in the same boat, and yeah, we are hearing some stuff. There are some messages in the chat room here. Yeah, it looks like, let's see, Deceptive Cadence here. Let's see, haven't been able to get 1099 income considered, only W-2. From FWSO, that's Fort Worth, I assume, yeah. And I've filed 2 appeals to get the 1099 income considered. The appeals don't even show up in the TWC website. It's been over a month, so that sounds a lot like what Tracy experienced there, where you're trying to kind of get them to look at the reality of what your income is, and it's just not compatible with the forms that they have. Yeah, and then Teddy in the chat room also said he had the same situation as Tracy and was told by the TWC that he could not use his 1099, but only one W-2 for a very small amount of my yearly income. Yes, of course, because it's not just like half your income. It's like, there's like 7, 8, 9, 10 sources for us. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. And then let's see, Teddy continued here. He says, I had one W-2 for 2 weeks of work for the whole year, and TWC is basing my opportunity for relief off of that and nothing from my 1099 and other 50 weeks of the year. Yeah, that's a lot like what that article that Jonathan was talking about from California was like, the situations described there. And then, there's a little more from Teddy here, too. He appealed twice to the TWC rep on the phone, was very stern about not considering my 1099 work. He said, look, that's just the way it is. He was annoyed and ready to get off the phone. They are not considering my appeals. So the route that we've been describing with what Tracy wound up having to do might be the way to go for Teddy, maybe to get a hold of your state senator and see. Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I think it makes a lot of sense. And that kind of helps us to get away from being viewed as non-essential.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, to add to that is that I did have the experience of talking to, in consecutive days, 2 different people from TWC who told me exactly the opposite things. So, in a way, it really depends on who you're talking to and how, free and concerned they are about your predicament and whether they're willing to help you or not. I guess I was lucky because I did ultimately get with somebody who was able to help and get things sorted out. So, I mean, I would, my reaction to that is don't give up. Keep trying, try different numbers, try your representative, try emails. I mean, just do what you can to break through here and get somebody who can help you, because obviously in Aaron's case, you were successful, and Tracy too, in combining income streams with the TWC to get benefits. So it's possible, right? We know it's possible. I think it just sometimes takes a lot of kind of dogged diligence,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, man. Russell, you've had some success getting into these politicians' offices before, but that was mainly before the pandemic.
Sure.
Have you had any experience with doing it remotely now that we can't walk into their offices physically?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, they're I don't want to say they're sort of shielded, but they kind of are. I mean, it's hard to get to them.
Yeah.
Or an email. You don't know if you're talking to them or a staffer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. lot of folks are attending virtually now. They're attending like the city hall meetings, the city council meetings, but I'm not aware of the state legislature, meeting in a way that I've heard about at least. Does anybody know anything about that? Heard about the state legislature meeting in a way that you could attend or watch?
There used
Are
to be you
they
could go down.
even in session? Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't quite catch you, Russell. What'd you say?
There used to be a way when you could go down there and sit in the question and send it down to them, but you can't go anymore in person. So
Yeah, of course.
I'm not aware of the meeting virtual. I've not
Mm,
heard of that. But the city council does, and I've gone on their chats and put my 2 cents in.
yeah, yeah. What were you saying, Jonathan?
No, I was just wondering. I was speculating. I don't know if the state senate is in session right now or not.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's every other year or something like that.
Yeah,
Is that how it works?
yeah, they're not full time. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, man. Let's see. Let's see. We've got a little bit more from Deceptive Cadence in the chat room here. She was asking Teddy if he filed an appeal, and she said that her FWSO income is less than a third of her total, and the rest is 1099. And yeah, I think that's definitely similar to what a lot of our situations are, where no one stream of income is big enough to be, considered like the majority of your income. None of them are the majority. That's the big problem. I think a lot of us have trouble with this when you get a bank loan as well. When you're trying to buy a car or a house, God help you. The banks want to consider whatever the largest chunk of your income is as your main income, and if none of them are the majority, then you just can't get in there without filing a lot of extra paperwork. I can tell you, I've had to generate a year-to-date profit loss analysis for my musician business for a bank before, within 48 hours, and that's basically involves doing all your taxes over again to the minute that they want
Well,
your
Aaron, maybe
business.
can you share with people how you saw? I mean, you're in that boat too, right? Of
Well,
being, how did you solve that problem with TWC?
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't actually really done that. Like I
Well,
said, I haven't received a payment yet because my W-2 income was still coming in. Um,
oh,
Now, a big part of that, like I said, a big part of that stopped last Friday. So that may change things when I submit a payment, what they call it, a payment request in a week and a half from now, and I'll let you know. But I don't really have an indication that I have actually solved it yet, and I guess we shouldn't really consider it to be solved until you have a payment in your hand, right? Yeah. So, man, we've got a little bit more from Teddy in the chat room here. Let's see. He said they're not considering his appeals. If it was one or the other 1099 or W-2, then shouldn't they consider the larger amount? I would think so, right? But I think what I've heard about it is that you have to apply for the standard unemployment first and be denied that, um, in order to go on to the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is that's what we qualify for as 1099 workers. So, um, in some cases, being denied for your W-2 work is a good thing because then you can go on to the pandemic assistance. But it sounds like some people aren't getting that far and are sort of stalling out, right? So let's see. Deceptive Cadence chimed back in and said, "One would think, but when I applied, there was no way even to list the 1099 income." Do you guys have any experience with that? Was there a way to list the 1099 income on the online application?
I never had to do that.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, but I was asked by the person that I talked to when I was creating my application in the first place, uh, what my sources of income were, and I told her, and she she asked me for a rough amount of how much I was earning, roughly averaging per week on 1099s, and that's all. I never had to submit anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that was over the phone though, right?
Yes,
Eventually. Okay. Yeah.
but then later I did. TWC did request that I mail or fax or send in my tax return from 2019 plus other supporting documents to show that I was self-employed. So I included my 1040 and my Schedule C and 2 or 3 of my 1099s. This was probably 2 weeks ago that I mailed that in, and I've heard no response to that. And in fact, I've also heard that they're running really, really far behind in considering those supporting document mailings.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine that those documents are going to be unique from individual to individual, and it's going to take a lot of manpower um, to
To sort
process
them.
those. Yeah, because they're not going to be standard. That's the whole point. That's why we're sending them in, is because they're not standard to what the TWC is used to seeing. Um,
But
so
my impression was that that was not that submission of tax documents and other supporting information was not how you would actually get considered for benefits. That was only having to do with how much your benefit was going to be.
oh,
So in other words, I was granted benefits before I sent in those supporting documents
hmm,
as a self-employed musician,
hmm,
right? And the reason why I sent those in was to try to get more
yeah,
based on what my 1099 income was for 2019.
hmm, yeah. So yeah, I believe before they receive those documents, you're assigned sort of the minimum amount for the PWA or the PUA
That's right.
plus the $600 boost on top, and then
That's
if you
right.
qualify for more, they'll raise
They
it
they'll give you more backdated,
when
supposedly.
they get around to looking at your info. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, yep, yeah, absolutely. We got a little bit more from Ted. He says he doesn't remember there being an option for 1099 income on the application, and he says I filed as self-employed and I didn't enter anything for my W-2, and somehow though the system they found it based on my opportunity off of that. Um, and then let's see, looks like Whale Herd also said it would seem that the TWC is looking for W-2s over 1099s because an employer is more likely to pay into the unemployment tax, which is where they get their funds, right? Yes, that is really the issue, Whale Herd, absolutely.
Well, no, but that's not entirely true because TWC is getting federal money
Yes, yes,
based on the fact that CARES Act and DUA and all that stuff is now applying to self-employed people.
you're absolutely right, Mark. But prior to the CARES Act or prior to the pandemic, um, that's how the
That's
TWC operated was on the contributions from the employers, and that's why 1099 employees never qualified for this stuff, or 1099 contractors, excuse me. That's the
right.
whole issue. We never qualified for this stuff before because we don't pay into that system, um, and that's why it's not set up. It's actually set up to exclude us, to encourage us not to apply for it because we never qualified for it before. Um, but now we do, and Mark's absolutely right. There is federal money going in there specifically for that purpose of helping us out. We just have to figure out how to get it, and of course it's on them a little bit too to figure out how to get it to us, um, and hopefully between those two efforts, we will survive this. That's really the goal here. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for Mark.
Please.
Mark, yeah. So when you originally applied, you got an email address and a phone number that you had good success with, and you sent. Some people have tried that number, and it hasn't. They haven't been able to have the same success as you. But how? Who did you contact to get those contacts that
Well,
gave?
my first contact was an email address, which I think was uicentral@twc.gov.state, whatever it was. I've since heard that email address doesn't work anymore. I don't know why. I haven't used it in weeks, but when I did email that, and let me see if I can actually find that email address here. When I first, it was uicentral@twc.state.tx.us. When I sent an email to that email address, I almost immediately got a response saying, send us your phone number. We will have somebody contact you. This was on a Sunday. And within 2 hours of that email exchange, somebody called me and they actually walked me through creating an application for unemployment benefits on the phone. Yeah. And then since then, I also have been able to use that 915 number, which I gave out last week, with 2 different extensions for 2 different very helpful women in the El Paso TWC office. But once again, I've just heard today that people have been having a hard time getting through to those. What I would suggest is to dial that number and just start randomly putting in 4-digit extensions. You know, I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous to do that, but that's what I did, right? So in other words, the number is 915-832-6595. And I used 2 different extensions.
I've just put that number and those extensions in the chat room so everybody can see them, Mark.
Yeah. But what I would add to that is if for some reason you try both those extensions and the mailboxes are full and you can't get through, try a different extension. I mean, that's what I did. I originally had 5653 and I couldn't get in touch with Stephanie at that, so I just typed in 5652, right? So try 5654 or 5655 and see who you get. You know, it's crap, you know, but I did that with 5652 and was able to get through to Rachel, and she actually proved to be very helpful to me.
Well, that's great. That's that's part of the, I guess, the persistence that is required.
Yeah, it's a game,
doing this.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My goodness. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So Barton Strings is asking if we can share the website for how to find your state representative. Yeah, seems having someone advocate on your behalf will get things done quicker, and that has proved to be the case. Yeah, let me put that in here. Yeah, this is just Who Represents Me is the name of the website, and it'll tell you who your state representatives are, who your federal representatives are, and even who your state school board representative is. But of course, Tracy and I had the most success with our state senator, who was happened to be Judith Zaffarini in her office. Were able to help us out, some other people that we know. So you're welcome to call that office, but it should be more effective now. Should be more effective to contact the representative that actually represents your district, because then they have more of an incentive to help you out, help their constituents out. But we don't know at this point how involved any of the other senators are, to be fully frank with you. So yeah, but I would definitely encourage you, especially if you've you've applied and it hasn't worked, I think now they're limiting online. They're limiting the number of times you can redo your application now without talking to someone because they are so overloaded. So you may have to talk to someone, and it's very difficult to actually do that without really being persistent and finding some way to talk to a person that is empowered to get you in the system the right way. Whatever the right way happens to be at that particular point in time, because as we've seen, just on our panel here, we have folks that have gotten into the system at radically different times here. Jonathan, I think you've been in the system for quite some time. Mark, you've been in the system for about 5 weeks or so, I think.
Almost 2 months.
And
Well,
then,
yeah, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Yeah.
okay, yeah, and then I've been in the system only 3 or 4 weeks, and the application process was completely different for all of us, and because it's been changing as they update the system, because we've never done that. Yeah, we've never done that before. Let's see. There's a question in the chat again. Are you comfortable sharing Senator Zaffarini's office information? I think she's comfortable with us sharing that. Yeah, we can put that on here. As soon as I can find it. What else? Let me look for that. And what else do we have, guys? Any other updates? Let's see. I came across this information about Senator Zaffarini's office from a friend of mine who's a dance teacher, so also in the arts, that was having similar trouble to what we're all experiencing here, and had some success going through this office. Let's see. No, that's not it either. No. Somewhere here. Okay, here we go. Okay. So yeah, so this is the email address that I came across. This is the legal advisor to Senator Zaffarini. Her name is Krista Kyle, yeah, she's the deputy chief of staff and staff attorney for Senator Zaffarini's office, and yeah, getting a hold of her through email was seemed to be the best way to do it. But like I said, that may not be your representative, but we don't actually know how engaged the other representatives are, or the other senators rather, in sort of helping people to correct these issues and problems. So your mileage may vary, but we hope we can get everybody on this thing, because our profession needs to survive this pandemic, and things are scary right now. I feel like it's helping a little bit, having this forum where we can talk about this as musicians, because our job is kind of unique. It's different from other people's jobs, and our experience will be different. So yeah, does anybody have anybody like in a normal job that they know that's going through this kind of thing? It seems like it's pretty standard if you have like one employer where you're an employee, and the system works a lot more seamlessly, because that's what it's designed for. It just was never designed to help us out, although it's being updated as we go. We should also mention that the TWC itself, the Texas Workforce Commission, has a Facebook Live session that's really like a press session right at 2 o'clock, right when we get done here. They're doing that on Facebook, on their Facebook page, the TWC Facebook page. And you can't ask questions there, but there is a comment stream. But the questions all come from the press. So you can ask, like your local TV station, if they have a representative there, they can ask a question on your behalf. But there is a discussion forum alongside that that discussion on Facebook Live, and that starts at 2. So there may be even new information there at 2 that we don't even know about yet. We've got another question in the chat room here. Do you recommend contacting the state senator before the House rep for my district? Oh, that's an interesting question. What do you guys think about that? State senator or the House rep for their district?
Do them both.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Barton Strings commented right after that. Go for both and see who calls you back first. The nice thing is that website that I gave you there, the Who Represents Me, will give you the contact information for all those offices. Yeah. Don't give up is really the main thing. I think this is the main message that we're trying to get across here. Is it is important that we not give up on this because our employment, our existence is important to society, and I think all of us believe that. Otherwise, who would do this job? I mean, it's yeah, yeah, man.
I have one reminder. I mentioned this last week.
Please.
If you make it through and you get your application through and you start requesting payments, down the road, don't stop requesting payments. Just keep going. Even if you have an employer who starts to pay you again, still report your income and make your payment requests until you run out of benefits. Which because they've beefed it up, it's 39 weeks now. So you can keep requesting benefits all the way into next year, even if you don't receive them, because you're getting paid from one income source. You never know when they're going to have to go back and stop working again. You never know when the virus is going to resurge. You're going to get a second wave in the fall, for example. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Stay on the system.
Yeah, stay on it for sure. I've had a lot of folks ask me like, okay, well, what if I do a recording session? Is that going to tank my benefits or whatever? And just keep reporting. Which is that's the same as requesting. That the request for payment is where you report whatever income you're able to scrape together. Keep reporting that. You may, if it's enough, you may get a reduced benefit. It is possible to still get a benefit if you're making some money. And there is information coming out of the TWC about that, where if you're able to find part-time employment, keep requesting a benefit, keep requesting and keep reporting that income. You may still qualify for a reduced benefit, or if you don't, that just gets banked for later in the year, like Jonathan was saying. That's an excellent point, Jonathan. Yeah, thank you for that. Just getting back to Teddy's situation, where he doesn't remember there being an option for 1099 income on the application. At least on the online application, there's no place to put 1099 income. It's you have to put yourself down as an employer, and that's a difficult thing for us as musicians, to think of ourselves as a business and as an employer of ourselves, even if you don't have what do you call it, even if you're not incorporated, right, is what I mean to say.
LLC.
An LLC, exactly. Even if you don't have that, or you're not incorporated, you still are a business, and you are the employee of that business. You have at least one employee, which is yourself. And so early on in the pandemic, that was what they were suggesting. The TWC was suggesting that we put, for employer, you put yourself down, and you have to put on the online application anyway, There's a place where you put the employer, and then there's a little box in there that says not listed, and you had to click not listed, and then it would give you the option to put your employer's information, and you just put your own information, and then they would send you in the mail. They would send you a thing that says, hey, Aaron, is it true that you employ Aaron for these number of weeks? And they would check, and of course you'd be like, yeah, that's my employee, and but it's all in how you think about it, and we're not used to thinking about it in those terms as musicians. We're not always the best business people to begin with, but even beyond that, it's sort of an abstraction that we're not used to, even those of us who are used to doing business in that way. The way that TWC sees it is even different than that. So it's definitely a challenge, but we have to. It's important that we keep on it, and keep asking for it, because it's going to take a while, for the income to come back. Like Jonathan was saying, there could be a resurgence in the fall. We just don't know. Those of us that remember 9/11, you remember the big dip that the whole entertainment industry had, and there wasn't even a health risk then. Just folks just stayed home for several months. And that is likely to be the case with the entertainment business as well this time. Even after it's technically safe, who decides what's safe? It's really only the audiences, what the audience will endure, or what they're up for, will decide when we get to go back. So yeah, you guys have any thoughts on that, about when you think we might go back?
I just think it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to speculate.
I think what we're going to see is a lot of businesses reopening, but the public not supporting their reopening. And I'm talking about not supporting it in terms of going to their business, whether it be a restaurant or a nightclub or a whatever, movie theater, because I think a lot of people are right now really pretty much scared to go out. And so, businesses may reopen and find out that they have like 5% of their previous business or something like that. To my mind, that's a mistake to do that, because that means that the businesses have to kind of get geared up to reopen and everything, and they're not going to have the revenue stream to stay open,
Mm-hmm.
So in our case, I think it's going to be months before a lot of the revenue streams that we were used to having are going to come back around. I think it's going to be quite a while. I just booked a gig in November, and I'm crossing my fingers that it's going to happen. That's 6 months from now, right? So.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, don't give up on booking either, man. If somebody's willing to book a gig in November, do it. But get a contract. For the love of God, yeah. And of course, the union contract is the best one. Yeah, please get a contract. And then you have, just like we've been seeing these past few months, when you have a contract, then you don't have a cancellation that's dictated to you. It's a negotiation. It has to be negotiated. You can negotiate a rebooking or cancellation fee or something to keep your business going.
Yeah. One other thing I would add, I know this discussion is pretty much about TWC, but be aware of the fact, as you were saying, Aaron, that if you are self-employed, you are employing yourself. And that means that you may be able to apply for a PPP loan, which is the Small Business Administration federal loan, which will give you the money to pay your employee, namely yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're granted that money and you do pay yourself over the next 6 months or so, you don't pay that loan back.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool deal. You have the catch is that you have to prove that you had employed yourself at a fairly significant economic level in 2019. So in other words, you have to prove via your Schedule C taxes that you were self-employed and that you made enough money from that to where you would qualify for keeping yourself hired, basically.
Hmm.
But it's another avenue for us,
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be overlooked. There is a member of our committee that has some experience with that. Wasn't able to make it today, but we hope to see you on the next one, because yeah, people want information about that too. It's my understanding that it's a bit of a challenge to find a bank that will make that loan to an individual sole proprietor, because it's obviously much more secure for them to make it to an established business that has an accounting department and multiple employees. But I've heard that some people have accomplished that. I've also heard that you can do that loan, the PPP loan, through PayPal. If you use PayPal for your business, it's possible to sign up through that, because that's also a bank. So we do have some members that are attempting it through that route, and I'll let you know if we hear anything, for sure. Um, yeah. Anybody else have any experience with the SBA loans or the PPP loans? I think SBA is just Small Business Administration, and that's just a loan that has to be paid back, and it's not tied to salaries. But the PPP loan, the payroll protection program, it is tied. If you in it, like 75% of it or something has to be spent on paying employee salaries, and if that's done, then the loan is forgiven. And that's how some employers are doing that right now. And if you're,
Yeah.
oh please, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say my my main W-2 employer is using those PPP funds to pay uh, the employees. So that's why we're still getting paychecks right now, is through that PPP loan, and yeah, they're paying everybody as much as they can. I think mainly because they want to make sure that they reach that threshold, because it sounds like there's some pretty difficult hurdles in order to get those loans forgiven.
Mm.
So they're really having to make sure that they get as much of that money to the payroll as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to know. That's been a success story for sure. But even if you're getting those, if you're getting paid through that program, report that income to the unemployment agency, to TWC, and still request payment, because you may still qualify for a payment that way as well. Because it ain't easy. We all know.
Right.
It ain't easy to keep things going. So it looks like we're just about out of time. Let's see. You can email questions for our next session on to our email address, which is just ucac@afm433.com. Let me type that into the chat window. But yeah, ucac@afm433.com. Is everybody up for doing this again next Friday?
Sure. And actually,
I mean,
I'd like to make a request.
Please.
If you, I'm not able to, but if you are going to watch or listen to the TWC press conference or whatever it's called, and there's any earth-shaking information in there, would you mind typing that up and putting it in the chat room or somewhere where we could access that?
Are you talking to me, Mark?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And likewise, if anybody has information to share, bring it to the session next week, because there's new. It seems like there's new news every day. The TWC actually does that chat Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. So there's potentially new news Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So yeah, it could be 3 more sessions before the next time we see each other. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. What else did I want to mention? Oh, yeah, you can also obviously you can submit questions in the chat, like several folks have been doing this session. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are in Texas. This does apply to everyone in Texas, so that's cool. Although we're not the only union local in Texas, there are several others. But yeah, you can ask a question there. We have a unemployment sharing page on Facebook, and you can ask questions there. We don't guarantee that we'll have the answers, but we'll definitely talk about them. And like I said, we're all musicians as well, and we're all in this together, as it were. It doesn't seem like that all the time, especially now since we're all at home. But we really are. We gotta stick together and share information to help our profession survive this thing. So thank you all for participating. And yeah, anybody have anything before we sign off?
See you next
One-
week.
One quick thing,
Oh, Tracy,
Aaron.
please, yeah.
I actually used the website that you posted for the capitaltexas.gov,
Uh-huh.
whom your representative is. And Senator Zaffarini is actually not my representative,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
they completely helped me out and
she's
went the back.
mine. Yeah, she's mine. But yeah,
Yeah.
she was able to help you out anyway. That's great.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, Senator Zaffarini's office. Hey.
Okay. See you later.
All right, we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.